All right, welcome. Today, we're going to put on our historical detective hats. Using just a handful of old documents, we're going to piece together the remarkably long life of a woman named Sarah Knapp. It's a great example of how even the smallest clues can tell a really rich human story. Okay, let's dive right in. Believe it or not, our entire investigation kicks off with this single sentence from a genealogy book published way back in 1871. It's short, but man, is it packed with info. A name, a birth date, a husband, and even where she was living late in life. This little sentence is our starting point. So to really understand Sarah's life, you've got to start at the beginning, right? We need to look at the world she was born into and her family, the Cutters. So picture this. It's November 6th, 1785. The American Revolution, that had just officially ended a couple of years earlier. So she's born into this brand new young nation and into a pretty big, well-established family out in Woodbridge, New Jersey. And when I say family, I mean a crowd. Seriously, she was one of 11 children born to Stephen and Tabitha. Can you even imagine that household? It must have been absolute beautiful chaos. And as we're about to see, this idea of a huge family, well, it seems to have really stuck with her. All right, so let's follow Sarah as she steps out of that bustling Cutter household and starts to build a new life and a brand new family of her very own. So around the age of 19, she marries a guy named William Knapp. Now, we don't have their wedding photos, obviously, but we do know that this was it. This was the partnership that would define her adult life for more than 50 years and kick off a whole new branch of the family tree. And here's where it gets kind of fascinating, a real echo of her own childhood. How many kids did Sarah and William have? Go on, take a guess. Yep, 11, the exact same number as her parents. And this list, this really just spells out the sheer scale of their life together. Their first kid, Joseph, was born around 1805. Their last, Elsie, didn't show up until 1831. That is 26 years of child-rearing. That is a lifetime in and of itself. So you're probably wondering, how on earth do we know all this stuff? Well, it's because we have a few key documents that act like little snapshots in time, freezing a moment and letting us connect all the dots. This timeline really lays out the big turning points we can piece together. We see the move, we see these heartbreaking losses of her father and later her husband. But the real goldmine for us, it's those two census records. They give us this incredible before and after picture of her life. And check this out. Here's one of those little breadcrumbs we found. When her dad, Stephen, passed away in 1823, his will specifically left his daughter, Sally Knapp, this amount. Sally, by the way, was a super common nickname for Sarah. It's a small thing, but it's that concrete proof, that little link that connects the dots for us. So what can two dusty old government records taken 10 years apart really tell you about a person's life? You might think, not much, but you'd be wrong. In Sarah's case, they tell us, well, almost everything. And wow, what a difference a decade makes. Look at this. In 1850, Sarah is 66, living in Newton, New Jersey. She's the wife of William, a shoemaker, in a home valued at about $800. Now, fast forward just 10 years. She's 78, she's a widow, and she's living with her son Manning, who's a successful lawyer and a household worth $7,000. That is a huge shift from a modest working-class life to a very comfortable, maybe even wealthy existence in her old age. So, let's turn to the final chapter of this unbelievably long life and uncover a little mystery she left behind that still has us scratching our heads. Sarah died on March 6, 1878. She lived to be 92 years old. Just stop and think about that for a second. She was born when the United States was basically a startup, and she died during the Gilded Age of railroads and industry. The amount of change she must have witnessed is just staggering. But, of course, history is never that neat and tidy, is it? Even at the very end, there's this little puzzle. It's the kind of thing that genealogists run into all the time: conflicting information. For Sarah, it all comes down to one simple question. What year was she actually born? So here's the deal. That genealogy book, the one published back in 1871 while she was still alive, lists her birth year as 1785. Seems reliable, right? But her actual gravestone is carved with 1787. So which one is it? Honestly, we'll probably never know for sure. It's just one of those little 2-year discrepancies that's been lost to time. And in the end, when Sarah died, she didn't leave behind a will or a big pile of money. We know this because we've looked and there are no probate records. Her true legacy wasn't something you could count in dollars and cents. No, it was her family. It was her 11 children, who then had kids of their own, spreading out across this growing country. Ultimately, Sarah's story proves that a life doesn't need to be famous to be fascinating. From just a few census lines, a will, and a date on a gravestone, a full human story of family, change, and resilience can just unfold. It really makes you wonder, doesn't it? What incredible stories are just waiting to be discovered in your own family's past?